Okay, today we're going to look at lesson 17. This is coming from section 3.2 in your textbook, and we're going to start solving linear systems algebraically. So today we're going to solve systems by using substitution. So that's your learning objective. You're going to use substitution to solve a system of linear equations. All right. Just a note, we're going to use this method when both equations are set up as y equals or x equals. Okay, it could be either one, or when one equation is already solved for x or y. So in lesson 16 notes, we wrote down when each method is going to be most helpful to solve the system. So substitution is when you have one of these, and we're going to look at both types of setups today. All right, so as usual, I'm going faster in the video than I would in person. You can pause and rewind the video as you need to. Please take down the notes, try the examples, and then use these to complete your homework assignment. Before we get started with some examples, here are some steps that you can follow to do substitution. I recommend that you write these down so if you get stuck or need to look back at them later, you can. But after we do a couple of problems, you probably won't need them. You'll probably get in the hang of the process. But first, we're going to substitute the expression that y or x equals. So you're going to be given at least one y equals or x equals equation. You're going to take the expression that variable is equal to, and you're going to plug it into the other equation. Then you're going to simplify. You can simplify by distributing, multiplying, combining like terms, things like that. It just depends on the problem that you're given. Step 3, you're going to solve for the first variable. So after you simplify, you should just have one variable left, either an x or a y, and you can solve for it. Then step number 4, you're going to take the value that you got in step 3, you're going to plug it back into one of the original equations and solve for your second variable. Sometimes you actually have to solve, sometimes you just have to simplify, sometimes it's given to you. So it just kind of depends again on what the problem looks like. After you finish step 4, you should have x equals a number and y equals a number. You take each of those values and create an ordered pair or a coordinate point that represents the solution to the system. Okay, now our most popular, or most not popular, but our most common type of solution will be at x comma y. You'll have an x value, a y value, you'll have an ordered pair. But remember, we do have some other solution options. If you have something like 0 equals 4, negative 3 equals 3, negative 8 equals 7, that's a no solution. Those numbers are not equal to each other. So there's no solution there. You could also have something like x equals x, y equals y, 0 equals 0, 4 equals 4. Each of those are true statements. So that's an infinite solutions. So you can see either one of the three. Later, when you do some problems in Math Excel, it'll be multiple choice. If it's an ordered pair, you type in the ordered pair, or if it's no, you choose no, and if it's infinite, you choose infinite. But when you do your work by hand, these are the answers that I want to see circled or boxed, okay? Don't leave this as your answer. Make sure you explain, is it a no solution or is it an infinite solution? And that's what I should see, circle or boxed for your final answer. Now, let's move on and work on some examples. Okay, here's example number 1. So this one's a little bit different. You have two y equals equations. That means that y equals this and y equals that. So because y is the same, we can set these equal to each other and then solve them. So we're going to plug this in for a y and this in for a y. And we'll have 6x minus 13 equals negative 3x plus 14. Okay, now from there, we're going to solve it. So take just a second, solve that on your own, see what you get. All right, you can solve this a couple different ways. We don't really need to simplify. There's no parentheses, there's nothing to multiply, there's no like terms on either side, so we're just going to solve. So I'm going to add 3x on both sides, and that gives me 9x minus 13 equals 14. Now it's a two-step equation, so I can add 13 to both sides, and I get 9x equals 27. Divide both sides by 9, and I get x equals 3. Now, In prior problems, we would be finished. That would be our final answer. But this just gives us x. We also need to find y. So this is step number 4. So we solve for the first variable. Step number 4 says take this value, plug it back into one of the equations, and solve for the second variable. So I'm going to grab another color here. I'm going to pick one of these equations. It doesn't matter which one. These are both y equals, so they're both going to be fairly easy. I'm going to pick the first one just because it's the first one. So y equals 6x minus 13. So I'm going to take this number that I got here, so x equals 13. I'm going to take that and plug it in for x. So I have y equals 6 times 3 minus 13. 6 times 3 is 18 minus 13. That gives me 5. So I now have y equals 5. So I'm going to take my 3 and my 5. I'm going to make an ordered pair, 3, 5. Remember, x comes first and then y. So this ordered pair is the solution to this system. If you plug it into both equations, it works out. Now, you do have a couple like this in your practice assignment today, so make sure you look back at this example as a reference. Okay, here's example number 2. On this one, we just have one equation that's y equals. So I'm going to find that y equals equation, and it's right here. So I know that y equals 4x plus 10. So I'm going to circle that 4x plus 10 because I'm going to need it. Now, I know that y is this stuff, okay? So that means I can plug this stuff in for y in my other equation, okay? So I'm going to have 8x minus 6. Now, where that y is, I'm going to put this stuff. So I'm going to use some parentheses, and I'm going to say 4x plus 10, and I'm going to close parentheses. So I just took that y out and put this stuff in there, okay? And I used parentheses, kind of like the circle, to separate it off. And then I have equals negative 12, okay? So all I did was I took what I circled and plugged it in for y. The y is gone. I only have x's left. And that's what substitution does. If I'm absent and you have the substitute teacher, I'm gone and I'm replaced by somebody else. Somebody else takes my place for the day and you don't see me, okay? The same is true here. This is the substitute for y. So y is leaving. We're replacing it with this stuff and we don't see the y. Just like you wouldn't see me if there was a substitute, you don't see the y because we're substituting it in this quantity, okay? Now, this is where our step 2 comes in. We've got to simplify. So we can simplify by distributing a negative 6. So 8x minus 24x minus 60 equals negative 12. Now we can combine like terms. Our like terms are right here. 8x minus 24x is negative 16x minus 60 equals negative 12. Okay, then we're going to add 60 to both sides. We're ready to solve, which is step 3. So negative 16x equals 48. Divide by negative 16, and you get x equals negative 3. Now, that's only one part. We found x. Now we need to find y. So step number 4, we're going to take this value, we're going to plug it back into one of these equations. One of these is going to be way easier to solve than the other. Okay, this one, if we're trying to find y, this is the one that we want to use. It's probably going to be the easiest. So I'm going to go back to what I circled before, and that's what I'm going to use. So y equals 4x plus 10. I now know that x is negative 3, so I'm going to plug a negative 3 in where x is. So 4 times negative 3 plus 10. Now, I just have to simplify this. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12 plus 10. So y equals negative 2. All right? So now I have an x and I have a y, I'm going to make an ordered pair. So my x is -3 and my y is -2. Okay, here's example number 3. You're welcome to pause the video and give this one a try on your own, and then come back and check your answer with me. Okay, let's see what we should have. So we find our y equals. So y equals this quantity. So I'm going to take that quantity and plug it in for y in my other equation. Okay, so I'm going to write this equation exactly how it is, but when I get to y, I'm going to plug that quantity in. So I have 2x plus 3 times the quantity, 2x minus 12 equals 12. Right now I'm going to simplify and solve. So simplify by distributing. So I have 2x plus 6x minus 36 equals 12. Combine your like terms. And that's 8x minus 36 equals 12. We'll add 36 to both sides and get 8x equals 48. Divide by 8 and you get x equals 6. Okay, so I have my x value. Now I need to find my y value. So I'm going to use the y equals equation. So y equals 2x minus 12. I'm going to take this 6 and I'm going to plug it in for x. So y equals 2 times 6 minus 12. So that's 12 minus 12. So y equals 0. Now, I have an x, I have a y. I'm going to turn that into my ordered pair, 6, 0. And that's my final answer. Okay, here's number 4. Number 4 is just a little bit different. Instead of being given a y equals equation, we're given an x equals equation, but we're going to do it the exact same way. Just instead of substituting for y, you're going to substitute for x. So I know that x equals this quantity, so I can plug it in for x in this other equation. Okay, so I'm going to write down this equation that starts with a -3, and when I get to the x, I'm going to put parentheses and this stuff. So -3 times the quantity, -7y plus 11, close parentheses. I've still got a plus y equals -11, so plus y equals -11. Now I'm going to simplify and solve. So distribute 21y minus 33 plus y equals -11. Your like terms are 21y and y. So that's 22y, or minus 33 equals -11. I apologize. That should be a minus. Okay, now I'm going to add 33. And I get 22y equals 22. Divide both sides by 22, and you do get y equals 1. And I'm trying to save some room so I don't have to get another sheet of paper. So I have y equals 1. Now, I'm going to use that y. I'm going to use that 1. I'm going to plug it in for y in what I circled. So I'm going to use x equals -7y plus 11. I know that y is 1, so I'm going to do -7 times 1 plus 11. And that gives me -7 plus 11, which equals 4. So I have a 1 and I have a 4. So make sure x comes first. So my x is 4, my y is 1, and that's my ordered pair. Okay, so you're following the same process, except you've got an x equals instead of a y equals. Okay. Okay, our last example is number 5. It also has an x equals equation, so we're going to do it just like we did number 4. You're welcome to pause the video, try it on your own, and come back and check your answer with me. Okay, let's see what we get. And I know I don't have very much room here. I'm going to try to squeeze all the work in this little space so I don't have to get another sheet of paper. So forgive me if you're writing these down, which you should be. You're welcome to go to another page or take up more space. All right, so I'm finding what my x equals. So I have x equals y plus 6. I'm going to plug that in for x in the other equation, okay? So I'm substituting in for x this time. So I have negative 3 times the quantity y plus 6 and plus 3y equals negative 3. I'm going to distribute negative 3y minus 18 plus 3y equals negative 3. Okay, I'm going to combine like terms. Negative 3y plus 3y is 0. Those cancel out, so I'm left with negative 18 equals negative 3. Does that make any sense? Does negative 18 equal negative 3? Are those equivalent? Are those the same? No. So what kind of solution do we have if we have two numbers that do not equal each other? No solution. So I'm just going to write down no solution, or if you're doing, when you're doing this by hand, you can say NS, you can abbreviate however you want to. Just make sure you don't leave it like this. Make sure you actually put down no solution. Or if those were the same, it would be infinite solutions. Now, use these examples to complete your practice assignment for today. It's not in Math Excel. It is a little bit different. So make sure you complete that worksheet, take a picture of your work, and upload it into Google Classroom. If you have questions, please let me know. Have a great day.